Good morning, Cool Cats. Happy Friday, and welcome to another edition of First Chapter Friday. Today, I have a new book to share with you. It's newly released and also new to our library. The title is Mr. Limoncello's Very First Game, and the author is Chris Grabenstein. Now, some of you may have heard of Escape from Mr. Limoncello's Library. Mr. Limoncello's Library Olympics. There are several Mr. Limoncello books, but this book is a prequel. A prequel means it goes back to the beginning. This book tells us about Mr. Limoncello when he was a boy and how he became such an amazing game and puzzle creator. So, we're going to read the first chapter and then I'm going to give you a little bit more information about what's going to happen later in the story. It was the summer that changed Luigi L. Limoncello's life, which of course led to millions of other lives being changed. The events of that long ago summer gave rise to families made closer by games played late into the night or on rainy vacation days. It also ushered in a magical factory, a spectacularly futuristic library, dazzling contests, an unquenchable quest for knowledge, stupendous surprises, and fantastic fun unlike any the world has ever seen or experienced. Wow, that was a lot of big words. What that really means is that Mr. Limoncello created some very amazing games that families enjoy playing, and he was the creator of those. I bet he has a very creative mind. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. It was 1968. Luigi had just turned 13. 1968 was 54 years ago. He was the sixth of 10 Limoncello children. His older brothers and sisters were all super serious, super talented, straight A students. Luigi, on the other hand, loved making up stories. He loved solving puzzles, and he really, really loved playing games. Everyone said he was, well, different, maybe even peculiar, definitely odd. On weekends, Luigi's father ran the projector at the Willoughby Bijou Theater on Main Street in Alexandriaville, Ohio. Whenever there was a Saturday matinee for kids, Mr. Limoncello would sneak his children up to the projection booth with him. It was the only way the whole family could afford to see the movie. So they had 10 children. That would be very expensive to take to the movies for free. So they got to go for free. The Limoncello kids would take turns peering through the small window next to the crackling movie projector. They'd each watch for a few minutes, then tell their brothers and sisters what happened. The millionaire was boxing with a bad guy, Luigi said after it was his turn at the window. Then he added his own spin. That's when a kangaroo hopped into the ring, he told his brothers and sisters. A kangaroo? Exclaimed the youngest Limoncello, Sophia. Oh, yes, and the kangaroo can really sing. Luigi's 16-year-old brother, Fabio, motioned for Luigi to step aside. It's my turn. You're just being goofy. No, said Sophia. Let Luigi go again. He tells the best movies. So when they're sitting in the projection booth, there's just a small window. So with 10 children, they all can't watch the movie at the same time. So they're looking through this small window, they're taking turns and then telling everyone what they saw. But Fabio wasn't about to give up his turn. Okay, now the guy who loves cars is singing a song about Detroit. Luigi pressed his ear to the wall. Detroit, Detroit. The movie soundtrack warbled to a stop. The Limoncello kids, their eyes wide, swiveled their face to their father. The projector's jammed, said Luigi's father with a frustrated sigh. I told Mr. Willoughby we should replace this old clunker. Stand back, everyone. I need to make a splice. So a splice means he's going to take the film and cut it and then put it back together. Mr. Limoncello was very handy and could fix almost anything. He flicked up some light switches, shut down the clattering mechanical monster, and pulled both ends of the film strip out of its feed sprockets. While his father wrestled with the two enormous film reels, Luigi heard the audience downstairs. They were chanting and stomping their feet. We want the movie! We want the movie! Kids hurled boxes of popcorn. Sugar babies and snowcaps bounced around the auditorium like spitballs. Go down there and tell them about the singing kangaroo, Sophia urged Luigi. Huh? Luigi was used to telling his family stories and his friends, and sometimes kids at school. But an auditorium filled with strangers? Go, Sophia said. Hurry. No, hissed Luigi's older sister and harshest critic, Mary. Don't you dare embarrass us. The crowd below was chanting louder. Their foot stomps became a thundering herd of cattle. Mr. Limoncello was nimble and quick with his hands, but he needed more time. We want the movie! We want the movie! Luigi looked over at Sophia. She smiled. You can do it. Luigi raced down the steep staircase from the projection booth, tore across the lobby, and slammed through the swinging double doors into the auditorium. The theater was dim, but Luigi saw a soft circle of light pooling on the empty screen. He ran down the center aisle. He took a deep breath and stepped into the faint spotlight. This was so different from telling his little sister a funny story. He could barely see kids in their seats, just their hazy silhouettes. So just kind of the outline of the kids. Good afternoon, boys and girls, he began. The shape of the kids squirmed. They seemed annoyed or bored or both. Luigi looked up at the production booth. Sophia was in the window, smiling down on him. He had to do something. I bet you're all wondering what happens next. Yeah, yelled a voice from the darkness. Well, they drive to Detroit, a big wind kicks up, and all of a sudden their car can fly, just like in the absent-minded professor. They sail through the clouds and thunk, splat. A half-empty Pepsi can smacked Luigi in the face. Sticky brown syrup dribbled down his nose. Sit down, weirdo, shouted a blond boy from the middle of the auditorium. He looked to be about 15. The girl next to him squirmed in her seat. Leave that kid alone, Chad. Luigi figured he had two choices. He could run away, or he could stay and try to change the story he was suddenly starring in, maybe even make it funny. Now then, he said, comically wiping his face the way he'd seen the Three Stooges do after being clobbered with banana cream pies. Where was I? Blocking the screen, shouted the guy named Chad. Who do you think you are, anyhow? Good question, thought Luigi. Who was he? Nobody really. Well, do you know who I am? The mad Pepsi bomber? The crowd laughed. No, weirdo. I'm Chad Shillington, and my best friend is Jimmy Willoughby, and his old man owns this movie theater. How'd you sneak in here? You don't look like you could afford to buy a ticket. I'm going to report you to Mr. Willoughby. Uh-oh, thought Luigi. If Chad Chillington did that, Luigi's father could lose his projectionist job. I'm sorry, I was just trying to. Suddenly, the light flickered on the screen, warbly music slid up to speed, and the movie started. His dad had saved the day, and the kids in the auditorium cheered. Chad Chillington draped his arm around his girlfriend's shoulders. He snagged her Pepsi cup since he didn't have one anymore. He had forgotten all about Luigi Limoncello. Well, Luigi sure hoped he had. So far, we found out that Luigi has a big family and all of his brothers and sisters are really smart. Luigi likes to be a little bit more creative than study, it sounds like. After the first chapter, the circus comes to town. And when the circus leaves, Luigi is left with a box and it has a puzzle inside and clues that him and his friends have to solve. And this is what kicks off the future of Luigi or Mr. Limoncello. If you're interested in learning more about how Mr. Limoncello got his start, or if you just want to start reading about Mr. Limoncello from the beginning, you should definitely check out Mr. Limoncello's very first game.